Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Buy Round Interview Show. Today we are joined by arguably one of New South Wales' greatest ever players, Premiership winner, pro rugby league player turned boxer, Paul Gallen. Thank you for coming on. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we'll just jump straight into it. Obviously, I guess you could say the wait's over. July 16th, Kudos Bank Arena, Stan Sports, Ticketek. Look, I'm a sort of casual fan of boxing. I think we see it where fighters dodge, avoid each other to sort of, I don't know, is it to just build the hype to make this supernova event? Is that what this has fundamentally been about?
No, definitely not. Obviously, Sonny first fought, I can't remember when he first fought, but I think I had my first fight about 2012, and it was an amateur fight over in New Zealand, and Sonny had fought before that. So straight away, word came out, you got to fight Sonny Bill Williams. Are you going to fight Sonny Bill Williams? Like, mate, give me a break. I've had one fight, amateur fight, give me a break. So I think I turned pro, I think in 2014, and every time I'd have a fight, it'd come again, do you want to fight Sonny? And at the start, I said, no, look, I'm probably not ready for it to have a professional fight. But once I turned pro, I said, yeah, let's do it. And it was spoken about maybe once a year. Every time I'd have a fight, I only really fought it at the end of the year. And then probably about 2019, 2021 was when I knew I was really coming towards the back end, like I was going to retire. I had a contract with no limit. And once that contract finished, I knew that was going to be the end of me. And also with my contract with no limit, it was on Fox. Now, Nine, as part of my new contract with Nine, said, look, we're going to let you honour this contract, but we can't let you fight on Fox anymore. And I said, okay, that's fair enough. I was going to retire anyway. So that's what happened. I finished my contract with no limit and then retired. And I chased the fight pretty hard in 2019, 20, 21. And I think I met Coda Nasser a few times. The last time I met Coda, I sat with him and he said, well, what do you like? He's pro Sonny, like ridiculously. It's actually embarrassing how what he thinks of him. But he said, what do you want? I said, mate, it's a 50-50 fight. He goes, okay, well, what do you want out of New Zealand? I said, mate, whatever the split is, that's what it is. He goes, mate, you're not getting 1 cent of New Zealand money. And I thought, well, mate, you don't want the fight. And I come out publicly and I said at the time, and this is all on public record, I said, Sonny does not want to fight me. He's scared to fight me. That's the worst thing I ever said about him. I never questioned his integrity like he goes on about. All I wanted to do was fight him. And then, as I said, he's scared to fight me. I said, I guarantee this. When I retire, he'll come out and say, let's fight. And May 2023, I've got the email on my phone. I'll show you whatever I say. I'm not going to say without unless I can prove it. So I'll show you at the end. I don't want to make them public, but I will show you whatever you want to see. Email from May. It was the 20th of May, 2023, and offered to fight Sonny Bill Williams. And I wrote back to Stan and I said, I'll fight him if I get a guaranteed figure. I want a guaranteed figure. Sonny can have every dollar up to that guaranteed figure, and then we go 50-50 from there. So it's going to be 50-50. But I want one guaranteed. And they said, no, that's not fair. What if it doesn't sell that much? I said, well, that's the price Sonny can pay for being a dog for the past 10 years. He's dodged me for 10 years. Clearly, his actions speak louder than his words. 2019, we're on 100% footy. I said, Sonny, we're going to get it on. He goes, Gal, as soon as I step back in the squared circle, he said, you'll be the first person I called. The bloke fought 3 times. Had 3 fights, 2020, 21 and 22. I never got a single call. Got my first contract offer in 2023. So, as I said, his actions speak louder than words. You never wanted to do it. And then, as I said, I never got the guaranteed figure in 23, so I didn't do it. I said, fine, I'll stay retired. And to be fair, 2023 was my retirement. You know, when you retire, you let loose. And I did let loose. I probably drank too much and I was probably enjoying myself too much, but I think it happens to all professional athletes. I had a gap year, so to speak. And, then 2024 rolled around. And again, I've got the negotiations for this fight started in November 24. I've got the emails. I can show the emails when they first started. And it was after Mike Tyson fought Jake Paul. And Mike Tyson, as a boxer, we all know what a legend he was as a boxer, got beaten by Jake Paul. And that would never happen, back in the day when Tyson's doing it properly. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm 44 years old, 44 years old this year. If I can get paid the sort of money we're talking about, why not have a crack? Win, lose or draw, who cares? It's professional sport. There's a winner, there's a loser. Everyone moves on the next day and gets on with it. The only people that put shit on you are those that are sitting back doing nothing anyway. Like boxers and guys who legitimately like the sport and watch the sport. You know, I go to fight nights all the time and I see a bloke lose. I don't judge him or think anything less of him. So once that fight finished, I thought, you know, let's have one more crack. We'll give it a go. And I rang Stan to see if they were still interested, and they rang Sonny. Obviously, he was still interested, and here we are.
I was just going to ask you, often in life and certainly in sporting endeavours, there's a big why. Like, why is Paul Gallen going through a grueling training camp? Why is Paul Gallen putting it on the line? Why is Paul Gallen going to step into the ring against a dangerous human being?
Yeah, that's a good question. And now I'm in the middle of the camp. I sometimes ask myself the same question, but there was always going to be that what if for the rest of my life. What if? And if the opportunity was there, I've never been that bloke to worry about what if. I've always had a crack. Man, I'm not the best at anything. I can tell. I was a good rugby league player who's just absolutely worked his butt. You knew what you're going to get from me week in, week out. I wasn't a Cameron Smith, a Sonny Bill Williams. I wasn't one of these guys, but I just had a crack every single week. I had a crack at everything I've ever done in life, and that's all I tell my kids: try your best, do your best. That's all you can do. So, yeah, I thought to myself, while I've got a little bit of ghost still in me, why not have a crack, make a heap of money? I got involved in boxing in the first place for money. I've said that from the start. I'm a prize fighter. I make no qualms about that. I don't try and hide it. I'm there to earn a good dollar. This could be the most lucrative fight I've had. Could be. I've had some big ones. This could be the most lucrative one I've had. So at my age, I'm never going to get the opportunity to earn this sort of money again. So why not? And as I said, also, I just like having a crack. And if I've got a little bit of go left in me, I'm going to have it.
You know when you look into the whites of Sonny Bill's eyes, you see any fear there?
I haven't looked in his eyes yet because I didn't turn up to the press conference. So I didn't go.
Well, you've obviously you work with him. You've had these altercations before. You know when I guess I see fighters square each other up, and even in football, you sort of know if someone blinks and you have that look, and you're like, are you?
Do I
like
sense
you
it?
have that feeling you've got it over someone?
Yeah,
like,
I haven't sensed that because we haven't actually looked into each other's eyes when we're being prepared to fight. So I look at Sonny's record and I got no doubt I can beat him. I got no doubt that when we were both doing it properly three years ago, any time before that, I destroy him. Actually, I think it's probably a 50-50 fight now, which I think is going to make it more interesting. Had I fought him 3, 4, 5 years ago, everyone knows I destroy him. Like, honestly, I absolutely destroy him. I got no doubt about that. He knows that. That's why he would never come near me. There's a reason he would never fight me. When he's on national TV and says, next time I step in the squared circle, you'll be the first person I called, and I don't hear nothing, his actions speak louder than his words. And you look at his record, he's fought, I think he's had one bloke who's had a winning record. That bloke was Francois Botha, who was 45 years of age at the time, and he's managed to jump in the ring at the end of round 10 and stop the fight. I was supposed to go for 12 rounds, stop the fight, and he somehow still got the decision. Everyone else, he hasn't fought anyone with a winning record. So, you compare resumes of who we've fought, and I'm so far in front of him, it's not funny. The question is, do I have it in me one more time? That's the question. Because if, I think I do. I think I've got enough. Don't forget, it's only 16 minutes. He only wants to fight 2-minute rounds. So I've only got to be that man for 16 minutes of my life. So I think I've got that in me. Do
you think he knows that? Do you think deep down he's got that fear?
Well, he had the fear not to fight 3-minute rounds. He knows he can't beat me over 3-minute rounds. He knows that.
Why is that?
Because he knows I'm fitter. He knows I'm tougher. He knows he can't stop me. He knows that. He's a power athlete. He's a big, powerful. He's a skillful rugby league player. I don't consider him a skillful boxer, but he's a big, powerful thing. Imagine having a team of 120 kilo, 120, 25 kilo blokes, big, powerful, and at the 50-minute mark they're winning 16-0. At the 55-minute mark they're winning 20-0. But the back end of the game, if you just stick to your systems, you just keep doing what you do, you will run them down eventually, and you will get them by the 80th minute. That's what he is. That's what he's doing. I'm trying to turn into rugby league terms here. That's what he's doing. That's why he wants 2-minute rounds, because he knows he's big. He knows he's powerful. He knows he'll probably win the first 4 or 5 rounds. But he knows I'm going to come home and knock him out by the end of it. He knows that. But he won't fight 3-minute rounds. He doesn't want to give me the chance. He wants to make it as short as possible. That's why he's doing 2-minute rounds. Don't forget, it's a minute rest in between those rounds too. So, what he's done is cowardly. It really is. I've had people, his people, Samoan people that I've go and spar to talk about it and say how embarrassing it is that he wants to fight 2 minute rounds. He's had Jai Pattaya, who's a world champion, call the fight soft because we're only fighting 2 minute rounds. And then Sonny goes into camp with him. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for Sonny. The bloke's called him soft and he's gone to train with him. All because he needs a security. He's such an insecure person. He needs like a security blanket around. He needs someone near him. Like, at the end of the day, Jai can't go fight for him. Jai's not going to be in the ring fighting for him. He might watch Jai train and think he's doing what Jai's doing, but he's not. He's an insecure little bitch.
So I've looked at some of the boxing contests, and I can remember when Tyson Fury fought Klitschko, and on the day of the fight, like things that the canvas had an extra layer on it, right? And these are some of the nuances that happen in boxing. You're talking about, the weight of the gloves. Fury gets into the ring, and he says, "This is too spongy." They were trying to slow him down. Is there anything like that you're forecasting? You're mentioning about the 2 minute rounds versus 3 minute rounds. Is there anything else that you can envisage happening that Sonny Bill and his team are going to try and control in order to lessen your opportunity to win the fight and increase his chance?
Well, the 2 minute rounds is a big one, probably the biggest one. I reckon the ring will be huge. I reckon it'll be a really big ring. There's all different size rings in boxing. I think they'll have the biggest ring they can possibly have, and I think Stan will allow that because at the end of the day, Sonny's Stan's boy. He is. Like, he's the A side of the promotion, so to speak. I'm just here making the event happen. I think the ring will be huge. We did have an argument about probably 2-3 weeks ago about gloves. So it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to wear 16-ounce gloves, but we can't be doing that. That would be ridiculous. 10-ounce gloves is what you wear. So we were talking about the gloves. What
difference does that make? Is that just on the punching power?
The thickness on what's on your knuckles, 16 ounces, like a big sponge. That's what you're sparring. That's what you're sparring. So you generally don't want to hurt each other sparring. It happens at times. You do catch someone and knock them down, but generally in sparring with the bigger gloves and the head gears, you try to limit that impact or limit the pain you're feeling, I guess, and hurting each other. And 10-ounce gloves, what's across the knuckle, it's not a lot. There's a big difference. So it wouldn't surprise me if they want to do maybe 12-ounce gloves. No doubt they'll be able to pick the type of gloves. Like Everlast is the Everlast 10-ounce gloves is what you sort of always wear, but I imagine they'll be choosing something different and probably get away with it. So there's those two things. The round, the size of the ring, and the gloves will be the big one.
You mentioned before about not turning up to that press conference. Was there a genuine reason? Or?
Yeah, well, I wanted to make him wait a little bit longer. He just made me wait for 10 years. I thought I'd make him wait a little bit longer. And it absolutely worked. He was so angry and he was so rattled. I could see him sitting there like he wasn't in his comfort zone. He was rattled. He was talking. He can't talk at the best times anyway, but he wasn't talking clear. And he was angry. And that's what I wanted because I can't. He doesn't emotionally affect me, and this is a fight. Two blokes going to turn up, have a fight, get paid a ton of money, and go home. Like it's not emotional to me. It's just a thing. But he was really emotional, which made me happy.
Yeah. He had some choice words to say. Is there a response to that? You mentioned he gave his reasons why. You weren't there?
Well, the thing, he tries to bring up drug testing. Jim, you know about drug testing. You can't dodge drug testing. If you're down to be drug tested, they will turn up to your place of work or your training, wherever you are. If you're not there, they will then go and try and find you at your house. If you're not at your house or you don't have a really good reason or as to where you are, if they can't find you that day, that's a violation, which is a possible 2-year suspension if you try and dodge a drug test. Unless you've got a really good reason as to why you couldn't turn up. Your mum's died in Queensland, you had to go up there, whatever it might be. And you cannot dodge a drug test. I've got evidence, which I'll show you at the end of this. I've got no problem with being drug tested. I spoke to Stan about it. I won't mention who I spoke to, but I spoke to Stan about it before the contract. Actually, when the contract was first sent to me, probably 6-8 weeks ago. And the first thing I said to them was drug testing's not in there. And they sort of said, yeah. And I said, well, that's the first thing he's going to carry on about, what happened at Cronulla 14 years ago. And they said, oh, okay. They said, it's a good selling point. I said, no, it's not. I said, no, it's not a good selling point, mate. I said, I've got kids. I work in the community. It's not a good selling point at all. It's not something that should be spoken about. I said, he's got a very, very checkered past. I said, I'm not going to bring up a single thing about his past because I'm not going to sell my soul to sell a fight. I'm not going to go and say things that will affect his family. And look, there's a fine line here about what you say that will affect his family and what you won't. But I think as a bloke, I understand the difference. I understand the difference of what I will say and what I won't say. And I won't bring up things he done in the past that will embarrass his family. I'm not going to do that. That's not who I am. And I think as a bloke, you shouldn't do that. And he's got to remember what happened 14 years ago at Cronulla wasn't my fault. He made out like it wasn't my fault, like it was only me, like I was the one who introduced and supplied everything to the club. I didn't do it. That wasn't me. I was part of 17 players who were found to be duped and doped after the government, the Australian government, with unlimited money, had access to our bank accounts, emails, phone records, everything, were found to be duped and doped. It wasn't something where we went out and discovered something for ourselves. It was something brought to us and given to us by our club, which turned out to be wrong. I'll back everyone at the club at the time and those responsible. They did not mean to do it. It wasn't on any ban list at the time. But what happened, and I can't change it now, but it was 14 years ago. If you bring it up now, when your kids come out from school and ask you about it when they weren't even born, it's like, I want to come out and hammer him and say certain things that he's done in the past, but as a man, as a bloke, I just won't do it.
Do you think he crossed that line there then?
Yeah, he did, but I don't hate him for it because, to be fair, I sort of pity him a little bit. He's just a fucking dumbass. He's not that smart. Like, he's really not. He's not that. He's not smart enough to come think of anything else. Like, he's just. I said to Stan a month before this happened. I said, that's the first he's going to go to because that's all he's got. That's what he's going to say. Like, he's not smart enough to do other things. And look, to be fair, he was probably told to say it. It's probably written for him. I don't know, but do I think he crossed the line? I just look. It's boxing, mate. At the end of the day, the dirtier it gets in boxing, the better the pre-sales are, the better the ticket sales are, which is what I'm in it for. So, I'm not fussed by it, but all I know is as a man, as a bloke, I'm not going to go down that path.
But then with the power of hate and the power of subplots and backstories, obviously that drives revenue, that drives interest. Is there a part of your brain or your mind that's going, I could say this,
100%,
and it just
100%
ignites it.
100%. Like, I know it's so bad. When this happened that day, I got sent. When I say multiple, I don't mean 10 or 20. I got probably sent half a dozen things about Sonny, things he does in the community that may not be all they're cracked up to be. Things about his history, things about his past, and are they true? I don't know. It's like him talking about me charging me mates $10 to come to my house. It's not. I mean, you've been to my house for a barbecue, or not for a barbecue, sorry, for a drink. I've never actually had a barbecue. So did I come over if I charge you or not?
No,
I didn't charge you. Well, there you go. But I mean, look, there's certain things I want to bring up and say, but I'm just, you know what? I'd rather be true to myself, which I've always been, and I just think as a man and as a bloke, I've got no reason to want to help him or his family, but. It's just as a bloke, I just won't do it. I just won't do it. That's just me. I know what the word is, but it's a feeling within myself. Me ethically, I'm not a great. I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm a great person, but I just think for me as a bloke, I'm not going to do things that I know would embarrass his family.
I'll just change track and just talk a little bit about your training camp. I'm interested to hear the differences. In approach from rugby league compared to boxing. Now, I know a lot of skills, attributes, traits are transferable. Like if you'd have got into boxing at, say, the age of 8 or a similar age of rugby league, you probably had the genetic potential, certainly the mental capability to go far in that sport. Obviously, you were a bit of a later adapter. But what are some of the differences involved, the individual sport versus team sport as well?
Yeah, like realistically and really, they don't really correlate. There's nothing that really transfers as far as I think being a good athlete transfers, and I think the ability to train hard and the resilience that a rugby league player has, that transfers definitely, because boxing is a very, very hard sport. You've got to be very resilient. You're on your own all the time. It's a hard sport. So, yeah, I do think that transfers, but as far as the skill, the ability to make a tackle, to catch a ball, to run, that doesn't really transfer at all. They're totally different sports. Boxing is great for rugby league for fitness. Like, as you know, when you can't run on the field, you might have a slight injury or something, you go and box, and that's great. That's what boxing is great for with rugby league. But as far as transferring and actually being able to go over and just jump in the ring and have a fight, it doesn't really transfer. I did box a bit as a kid. I never and through my teenage years, and I never thought I'd fight. I did do a little bit of sparring and punch bags and pads and was coached. So I did have a little bit of a background there, and that's probably why I've been able to be reasonably successful with it and have some of the fights I'd have. Look, some of the fights I had, I never thought I'd have. Like fighting guys like Justice Hooney and Chris Turpieski was like, I don't talk about my fights. That's one thing that annoys me about Sonny too. He carries on like I walk around, this tough guy talks about fighting this guy. They go, well, I don't. The only fight I've ever spoken about is Justice Hooney, because to be in the ring with that guy was something amazing, to be honest. Like people say to you back then, would you ever fight Mike Tyson? And everyone's like, yeah, I'd fight him for $1 million for sure. And I've always said, yeah, just to say you got in the ring with him, whether he knocked you out or not, would be an experience. And I can tell you right now, being in the ring with that Justice Hooney was an absolute experience. He's now ranked number 1 in the WBO. He actually is fighting for a world title qualifier, I think, this weekend. So he's at the top now. He's getting towards the top. And to be able to go 10 rounds with him was an amazing experience.
With just sort of preparation, I've heard it spoken about before, and the reason why fighters go into camp, it's about like getting circadian rhythms to peak at the right time. Are you in that level of detail? Because I'm assuming the fight will be around 10 o'clock at night. Is there work that you do to peak it to actually be in peak performance and ready to be at your best at 10 o'clock at night? This always fascinates me with athletes that perform at such a late time.
Yeah, I will be towards the back end of the camp. Not now, yeah, but towards the back end of the camp, maybe the last week or two. We'll see the last 7 days. You finish your last spar probably 7 or 8 days out. You don't, because sparring can be dangerous with cuts and injuries, so you got to be a little bit careful. So you don't spar that last week. So definitely that last week we'll do later pad work time and training times, yeah. But for the moment, I don't. I mean, at the end of the day, I base my preparation pretty similar to rugby league. Played rugby league for a long time. Like to think I was reasonably successful there. So I just sort of keep the same process with boxing as I did with rugby league.
And we were talking just off air a little bit about struggling to hold yourself back. Obviously, there's a lot of drive within there. I understand that mentality of no more is more.
Yeah.
Is something that you're not learning but coming to terms with to be able to peak at the right time?
Yeah, and thankfully I'm only going to have to do it once. This will be my last fight no matter what. But yeah, during my whole rugby league and boxing career, I always had the mentality that the harder I train, the better I'll play or the better I'll fight. And that's why I've always done it. But at my age now, at 43 years of age, you do realise that when you have a dead set crack, when you really push yourself, you don't pull up that well. If you're lucky not to get injured, to be honest with you. But then I can find, when you work out as you train, what your levels are. When I go about 90 to 95%, I can go all day long. And I pull up fine, can probably do it again the next day. But when I have a dead set crack, it's, pushing yourself 100%. Or really, even doing weights, there's always that danger of getting hurt or something going wrong just because, age is undefeated for a reason. So I am trying to hold myself back. I've got Justin Lang who's training me at the moment and coaching me with the physical side of it, and he's trying to hold me back a little bit. And I am learning, and I am getting better at it, to be honest with you, because I realise that the biggest thing about this fight's going to be actually getting in the ring. That's going to be the hard thing for me, because I do want to push so hard, but I do have to hold back to make sure I get to the ring fit on the night.
What do you mean the hardest thing is getting into the ring? Like being ready to go, process? Being
ready to go, but not getting hurt along the way. Because I like to train so hard and push myself so hard, that's when you run into things going wrong, getting injured, for example. Like if I go for a run and have a 4K run, I want to run 5. If I got a 6-round sparring session, I want to do 8. Like if I do the 8, I'll then want to do another 2 on the bags. Like I'm always just pushing that little bit more. And my trainer is Graham Shaw, who's been my trainer the whole time. He has to stop me. He goes, no, he has to say no more. That's it. Like we'll do a 10-round session, and then I'll go and punch the floor to ceiling for 2 rounds. He's like, mate, just stop. So the risk of being hurt now is not worth what you're going to get out of it. And that's what I'm starting to learn.
Yeah, it's fascinating, this idea of overtraining. Do you think it's because you know what absolute chronic fatigue looks like.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know if you can overtrain when you're a young professional athlete. I don't. I personally don't believe in it. Like you'd have to do some serious Ks to be overtraining it between 20 and 30 years of age. Like you'd have to be every day going, doing stupid amounts of work to be overtraining. I generally believe that the harder you train, the more resilient you become, and the better you'll be. I do believe that. Obviously, age is undefeated for a reason. When you get in your 40s, things change a little bit. And I definitely noticed for me about 41, everyone said, mate, wait till you hit 40. Wait till you hit 40, you're gone. Well, I was okay at 40. I fought Hooney at 40. I fought Chris Tervieski at 41. I was okay, but it was probably at the 41 where I definitely noticed a bit of the decline in the recovery. It's just a little bit harder to recover. And as I said, to push yourself 100%. And where you might have been able to do it 2 or 3 times a week, as I said, to even go 100% these days is hard.
Gal, I want to ask you about, in terms of a spectacle, 2 former footballers, you mentioned your age. I think one of my, what's the correct word? I guess a person who I don't particularly enjoy, as I'm paraphrasing here, but made comment around what he thinks of your fight, Peter Fitzsimons, saying like this shouldn't be happening. It's a joke with all the things that you've been put through. It's a danger to your health. He won't be watching. What do you make of people who comment on your freedom of choice to make this decision to risk only your health? Yeah, only your future endeavours.
Yeah, well, I'm free to do what I want to do with my life, and they're free to have the opinion they want to have. So look, at the end of the day, you can't stop someone's opinion. If you want to listen to it and buy into it, that's on you. As I said, it's my decision to fight. Everyone's got an opinion, everyone. So it doesn't worry me. That's one thing I've been really good at, even with social media. Like there's so many issues with social media, young kids these days, and how cowardly people are on it. Like it's social media is such a good tool for people like you and me to communicate with fans and with people, but what they get away with being able to write back, it's so embarrassing. And I don't buy into it. I just block and delete straight away. Even if I don't like something you've said, even if it's not crude, and if I don't like something, I just block them. And I have the right to do that because it's my social media account. I can do what I want. So people have opinions. Everyone's going to have an opinion. Whether I want to listen to it or not, that's on me. So look, he's entitled to his opinion, but I don't care.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I do not like people imposing on other people's freedoms to, whether it be earn money, find a sense of purpose, have something to do.
Yeah.
A good poem actually by Theodore Roosevelt is about the man in the arena. And it's not the critic that counts. You should look it up.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's the. I've got to be honest. I'm a bit of a pessimistic person. I do always think the worst, and I'm a bit of can be a stress head. And I do think about this fight, and I do think about worst case scenario. What happens if I lose? And I'm like, well, if I lose, I'm getting paid the same amount of money. My family's still going to be there tomorrow. I'm still going to have my friends. Who's going to really judge me? And it's the dipshits who have done nothing their whole life, who are sitting back on their keyboards and their mobile phones giving it to me. And or when I go to the footy, mate, I go to the footy now, and I was at a Dogs game a few weeks ago, and I'm walking over to the fence at Dogs Para. It was a while ago now. As I'm walking over, Gallen, Sonny's going to smash you, bro. You're dead. He's going to smash you. I got to the fence. And I'm sitting there talking to the Doggies fans. Oh, mate, we hope you smash him, mate. What he done to our club is unforgivable. I said, yeah, I know. And anyway, you walk away, you're 20 minutes away. Sonny's going to smash you, Gallen. And then look, the same, whether I win or lose this fight, the same is going to happen. If I win this fight, they'll find some other reason to bag me. The same people who are going to give it to me are going to give it to me about something anyway. So why not step in there and make a ton of money and hopefully beat the bloke?
The last fight, the last frontier. What do you do now? I know we've spoken on a number of occasions about the life of a former athlete. We've done a couple of those charity walks together, and how you find that sense of meaning that put your focus on a singular event. And we did that with sport, the structure of the season, the structure of the week. We knew exactly what we're doing. You found that with boxing. do you look ahead and think, well, what? And you said about your gap year.
Yeah.
Do you? Is there a concern there about what is next?
Yeah.
Because you seem that very driven person and a driven person to do extreme things.
And you know, it's like Jimmy. I understand what you're saying. You know what people like me in your life, people who have been involved in the sport at a high level for a long time. We do have those personalities. They go one way or the other. And 23, my personality probably went the other way. It wasn't until 24, me and Wayne Gray went to Vegas, and we're there for the NRL. We're there for 6 days, 6 nights in Vegas. Imagine 6 nights in Vegas. Anyway, we landed back in me and Wayne Graham. Couldn't wait for the seatbelts on to go so we could lay our beds down, leaving from Vegas on the direct flight.
I was on that flight.
I was in your. You in our room?
I was in your taxi.
That's right. Yeah.
To the airport. That was quite the. Yeah. I think it was myself, Greg Inglis. We were waiting patiently for you and Wade to finally turn up to get from Resorts World to the airport. Jeez, it was a tough endeavour.
It was tough. So anyway, we landed in Sydney. I dead set woke up 3 seconds earlier. I had to wake him up. He was snoring the whole way. And I said, mate, I'm done. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm not happy with what I've done the past 12, 18 months. I'm done. And he's like, get to Wednesday, mate. We have this saying when we played footy, just get to Wednesday. Yeah. Wednesday's hump day. And he said, get to Wednesday, mate. You'll be right. I said, no, I think I'm done. And admittedly, I did go and get some help because I wasn't doing the right thing. So I did realise within myself, you know, it's very hard to admit you need help when it is hard as a bloke who's supposed to be tough and know it all. Not know it all, but be tough. And so I went and got some help and didn't drink at all from the time I got back from Vegas. All 24 did fall off the wagon the back end of the year and back to Vegas this year and had a bit of a crack there. But yeah, since Vegas again, haven't drank again. So look, I'm not saying I'm never going to drink anymore, but. I'm definitely going to limit the times I do drink. So, and going back to your question, Jimmy, we have those personalities, and what is next is a little bit scary because there's going to come a time in life I love training. I train every day. I train and I love it. I really enjoy it. If I don't do weights or go for a run or go for a walk, like just getting out and doing that exercise is really important for my mental health. Yeah. But I think there's probably going to come a time where I'd love to put my energy into something else. But I've been, pretty lucky. I've done okay in other areas too. Like I enjoy property. I'm involved in that. I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy radio. So,
but I know all that, and I get it.
I don't know.
Is there that it's
I know what you're saying.
Even things like you can build a property portfolio or whatever you want to call it, and you can have good business interests, like financially secure. You can have things going on. But like,
I know that. Yes, like, 100%.
I don't know.
Exactly what you mean.
A few times we've met, there's a fire within you, and I don't know if one fight can just put it out.
Yeah, I know. And that's you know what, Jimmy? At the end of the day, it's something I'm gonna have to deal with and learn because I've got 4 beautiful children. There's a wife that's been the best person ever to me. So I've got to be there for them. Like as you know, as a rugby league player and as a boxer, probably even more so. Like you got to be very selfish. Yep. You do have to be selfish, and that's not a bad thing. To be selfish and to prepare yourself as best you possibly can for your teammates is what you need to do. But I think there probably comes a time in life where I have to put them first, and it's going to come up pretty quick. But I know a lot of people listening probably won't understand what Jimmy's trying to say, but I understand what gets you. Yeah. When you put your head on the pillow at night, are you satisfied for the day? I know what you're trying to say, and
well, even the way that you train or your approach to training, like you kind of need something to exhaust yourself with.
If you got any ideas, I'm happy to listen to you because I don't know exactly.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask, acting, because obviously you featured in porn with myself. It was that a one and done, a one hit wonder?
No, I did a commercial yesterday actually.
Well, but commercials are different dramas.
I've been asked. I've done a commercial yesterday. We've done that thing together. I've been asked to go in I have been asked to go in another movie. Actually, it's a horror movie made by an Australian producer. filmed up in the Central Coast. But they've asked me late last year, and they've been on to me. And probably about 6 weeks ago, I texted them. I said, "Look, guys, I've got this fight coming up. I'm totally entrenched in that. I can't commit or think about anything else. Once it's over, I'll get back in contact with you and see if it's still available." And so I just got to get through this fight first. I'll worry about that next.
Yeah. Look, it just fascinates me with athletes and what they do next. I know I've lived that. I guess struggle and finding, I guess, a sense of purpose, knowing that you look back and you think like it's the best life ever, and it's probably an acceptance that life is good, but it's never going to be. And not even thinking back that it was all great with football. Like it was highs and lows. It was everything in between. It was obsession, depression, thrills, ecstasy, euphoria. Like it was everything. But those range of emotions at the peaks and the troughs, you lived for it.
You did, and 100%. Mate, even it's weird. Like even in the help I got last year, it was explained to me that we actually, as some of the personalities that me anyway, that I actually crave the downer. I actually crave the downer. Like I love the euphoric feeling, but then I actually crave the downer because once I get to the downer, I want to get back up. Wanting to feel that again, but then I actually want to feel the low because I want to get there again, and that's pretty full on to realise that and to understand that. Now, when you understand a few things like that, I think you can handle it a bit better. So I'm glad I went and got that help because I would never have understood that.
Yeah, it's funny that like knowing what issues you face can be a huge help for anyone. Like I always think back, and when people talk about the big, what was it like? It made you feel alive.
Yeah,
like being in dangerous positions. Yeah. Makes you feel alive.
And that's what people don't understand is we did that every day. Like, it was once a week. The game was once a week for 26 rounds a year, whatever it was, plus semis and that. But daily, we pushed ourselves. Daily, we challenged ourselves to get better than what we were the day before. So when you've got that challenge every single day there in front of you, like literally every day, and then it's not a gradual decline. It's taken away overnight. You stop overnight.
Yeah, you do.
So you go from this yo-yo of euphoric highs and euphoric lows to stopping overnight. Like, but people don't understand. And I understand why people don't understand it because they think, well, hang on a second, you're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and they all think that's the answer, which, it's great. But the money doesn't replace the emotional side of it. And that's and I do understand why people don't understand it, but I know you understand it. That's why I can talk about it. And people have been there and done it, understand it. And to replace that in the future, that's going to be the issue. But I'll be right. As I said, probably got to put the family first.
Gal, obviously the differences in the sport, probably most noticeable in the build-up. Do you think rugby league could do with a bit of trash talking? Like the game's never been viewed as much and as much interest in the game, but I know you were part of that in the build up one time between New South Wales and Queensland. But what do you think is holding the players back?
I think social media's got a big part of it too, because people are so accessible now to talking directly to the player, and the player's too concerned about. I'm going to go out and smash the Roosters this week. I'm going to take on their whole forward pack and give it to them. Because all of a sudden, if you get beaten that week, you get 35,000 people hammering you on social media. You're a dog, you're this, you're that, like carrying on. So I think that's got something to do with it. I think the coaches are under so much pressure that they're concerned about it. But what gets me is that as NRL players, as a game, as elite athletes, there is nothing that a person in the opposition team should be able to say that's going to motivate you any more than what you already should be. If you're not willing to go out and put 100% effort on the weekend, put your body on the line, run as hard as you can, tackle as hard as you can, every time you have the ball, every time you have to tackle, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't need someone else from the opposition to say, I'm going to smash her, or I'm going to run 1% harder. When that's not the way footy should be played. That's not the way you should be preparing. You should be preparing that you are going to do the best every single effort you have in that game, no matter what. the talk before, it's for the fans. It's for the fans and for the sale of the game. So I do think that footy players should be a little bit more open to it. Like back in the day when I spoke about the Queen, I've never tried to sell it. I've never lied or made something up about a rugby league game or a fight to try and sell it. I've just been honest in my opinion and honest in what I say. That's it. The two-head things was, that's sort of come from me and Greg Birdie to talk. Blake Birdie actually said it publicly before I did, but I don't know why they grabbed my grab of it, and obviously that went off. And I think I hammered Billy Slater one day when we played him down in Melbourne because Billy Slater's shuttle was no good. It was no good to play. But they won game one. They wanted to sew the series up. Game 2, 2015, I think it was. They hammered us game 3. Don't get me wrong, but he shouldn't have played game 2, and I thought that was disrespectful. And that's exactly what I said. And we had 90-odd thousand people at the MCG watching us play an Origin game in Melbourne. There's 92,000 people, the biggest crowd down there. So I do think players have a responsibility to sell the game, but I do understand, that a lot of them are a bit reluctant to because of the access people have on social media and also their coaches and their clubs.
Yeah. I know what you say about that you shouldn't need that extra motivation, but it can help. If you think about you and your team talking, you're like that.
Yeah,
he said that.
Yeah.
Rather, because if you don't have that to draw, like if you're a skipper and you don't have that to draw on, like we're just gonna go and smash these blokes. I don't like them, but if they've said something, you as the skipper when you're getting you're having your forwards meeting, you can it almost becomes personal.
I can understand that, and I'm not saying I've never used that because I have, but I just still think that if you're I get back to the grand final 2016, biggest game of my career, best thing I ever did was win the Premiership for the Sharks. I had nothing that week to draw on. I had nothing personal to draw on, nothing bad to say about anyone from the Melbourne Storm, nothing bad they've said, nothing bad they've done. So, what do? You just we're not going to win the game. You got to go and prepare. That's why I just say there should be. I do understand you do draw on it sometimes, but what happens when you can't draw on it? Does that mean you just go out there and lose?
Surely you would draw on that particular occasion. You were drawing on the fact that
but I just think you should be as well prepared as you can be and giving your best every week, no matter what. I don't. I don't believe that you should be. I do understand what you're saying, and I've definitely used it before, and I know teams use it, but I just still think you should be as well prepared as you possibly can be. Yeah.
I was going to ask you. You mentioned about you being involved in that jab at Queensland, should we say? The rumor around the rugby league circle is you got paid from the NRL. Is that?
I didn't at the time.
So you didn't?
No. So no, that was all me. That was just me just being me. So what happened was, that was around the Asada time, and I had even today no one remembers anyone else, but everyone remembers me, and I was, I didn't deal with it. Oh look, I was okay. Don't get me wrong, but whatever happened. But then I blew up when I was overseas about the NRL and the way we were treated, and the way someone else was treated, Steve Noyce. So I put something out on social media. Social media got me in trouble, and I was fined $50,000. Appealed to it. Was end up fined $30,000. And I said to the NRL, I said, fine. I said, you know what? Let me pay it to a charity. I'll pay it today, $30,000. And they said, no. Nah. I said, what do you mean? They said, we're not going to let you pay to a charity because you get a tax deduction. I said, yeah, I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation. You know what I mean? I'm going to give it to a charity and get $30,000 today. No. Nah. I said, fine, I can't afford to pay it then. I'm going to have to pay $100. I paid $100 a week for as long as until the $30,000 was paid off. But I was really, the fact they didn't let me pay it to a charity was I thought was a poor sign then. But then Dave Smith, when this whole thing happened, Dave Smith rang me. And I was actually in a little bit, I wasn't having to go at Dave Smith. There was other people I was having to go at, but that's history. Dave Smith sort of understood what happened. And I was in a little bit of contact with him, and the Queensland stuff was all me, but then Dave did ring me about the Melbourne game, and he said, "Gal, we need to sell Melbourne out. I need you just to do what you did last year somehow. Just do it." And I said, "Mate, I don't make things up. I just say things." And the Billy Slater thing come up because he shouldn't have played, and he played. So that's what come up. And he also said, "If we get more than 90,000 people there, I'll give you $50,000." We got 92,000. That's why I know there was 92,000. So
just count them like eight, right?
Yeah, so we
official gate receipt. 89,950.
We're winning the game, and then I heard the crowd like, "Yes, we're on here tonight." So I might have paid me 30, paid what I paid back, but yeah, nevertheless, I got the fine I got back from the NRL, so that's when they paid me, but they didn't pay me for the initial one, no.
Just on Origin, I can remember the scenes at the end of a game and watching you fall into a heap, and I can remember watching it and just thinking, oh my God, like not sympathy, but just that level of like, Jesus Christ, this bloke is
Mate, it was a hard time.
on the just run himself to a standstill, another series loss. And look, when you consider your impact on New South Wales, yourself, Greg Baird, are the two people that really spring to mind in terms of standing up to this Queensland dynasty team. Like, how do you look and reflect on that period? I know obviously you got the win in 14, but is there things that you take from that you're proud of, that you kept on standing up, that you kept pushing them so close?
We kept standing up. You know, we turn up every year. We made Origin big every year. There was like the game one a couple of weeks ago was the biggest watch game since, biggest watch game since game one 2016. So that was when I was still involved. So we made Origin bigger and better every year. To get into the Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago was a little bit embarrassing when I'm up on stage with Benny Elias and Andrew Ettingshausen, won 5 series. So, and to be out there with two guys I grew up watching and idolising, that was quite a little bit embarrassing. And it is, when I was a kid, I never went for an NRL team. I only went for New South Wales. That's all I cared about. So to be able to play for New South Wales was a dream come true. But when you're a kid, you don't think, okay, I'm going to play in 10 series. I want to win 9 of them. You just want to play for New South Wales. So being able to do that was awesome. But then once you get there and you become an adult, you want to be successful. And unfortunately, it was they were just too good. I can't take that away from them. They were just too good. It's easy to say now that I'm not a part of it anymore. They beat us, and they were too good for us. So it's not. I look back on it really happy and proud that I played for the Blues because that was my childhood dream. But it wasn't. To win 14 was a highlight of my career at the time. But I would like to have been a little bit different. Yeah, I would like to have been a little bit different, but it just wasn't.
Mate, I know what that's like. I lost, or was part of teams that lost 6 grand finals in a row, and it's just, you some of those you think we should have won that one. That was probably deserved. Yeah. If that moment's a little bit different, you just never know.
Exactly. And look, it's hard, but as I said, I'm more retired now, and I'm proud I got to play there.
I think you learn from those losses. Personally, and even when people, how'd you go again? It's like, well, how'd you not?
Yeah, it's what you do.
Like, we lost, so we give up. And we just stop, or just stop playing.
Yeah, I think it helps you with the resilience, without a doubt. So it's probably there's life lessons there too, and resilient lessons. But ideally it could have been different. But I think it's helped me in a lot of different parts of life.
You mentioned 14. The unlikely lads from the Bulldogs, Hocko and Reynolds come in. I guess.
Why didn't we pick him in 15? I look back now thinking, what did we change the team for? Obviously, the players aren't involved in the selection process, but I sort of now looking back, you think, what if we had kept them?
Yeah,
but they were great. But I'll tell you, they were fantastic. I can't thank the Morris boys enough. The Morris boys, unfortunately, never got to play in the game we won the series. But Brett Morris, in the first 5 minutes of the game, scored a try and dislocated and broke his shoulder.
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy, back then I didn't have the highest opinion of wingers, and sometimes I still don't. I know they're an important part of the game these days, but the wingers are sort of the blokes who just hang around footy players. But for a winger to play the rest of the game, 70 minutes with a broken shoulder, just for the team and for the state, that's legendary stuff, And Josh Morris done his medial ligament, got off the ground and chased down Greg Inglis, the best probably,
that
one
was
of the best players.
Yeah.
They're like, then they probably score then, and we don't win the game. Like just efforts like that people don't remember that much was unbelievable. I'll tell you a story about Grubby.
People don't remember it. Mate, every time I see Josh Morris, he brings it up.
I told you, that's Jay was.
Did I ever tell you about that?
Yeah.
Go on, tell me again.
But obviously, Hocko scored that fantastic try. But there was a moment at the back end of that game where Grubby saved the game for us, and no one really knows. You probably can go back and have a look at it. But fifth tackle, we're attacking their try line. A minute two to go max. And I remember fifth tackle coming on, and I was on the other side of the field, and like, just take the tackle, I was yelling, just take the tackle, don't kick it. Anyway, someone's tried to put a grubber through. Slater's trapped it. It bounced 2 or 3 metres back that way, and I've played multiple games for Australia where I've seen Slater pick that ball up and run 90 metres and score the try. Slater was through. He was going to pick it up, and I reckon he's a fair chance of getting there. And Grubby tackled him without the ball, gave away a penalty, and I reckon that saved the game. And if you go back, it was about a minute ago, they kicked the ball out. And that last set of 6 we had to defend, and we defended it. But if Grubby doesn't take Slater out or grab him there, it could have been a different story. But as I said, moments like that people don't remember. The jam was one we do, but the Grubby to do that was I think saved the day for us.
Yeah, I think it's his what is it on social media? Throwback Thursday. Just every Thursday, J-Mo's just puts it up.
Puts it up. Yeah.
Just quickly, Gal, conscious of the time, coming together with Australia, with those people that you hate. I had it a different way, St. Helens and Leeds. What was it like when you actually got together? I
actually loved it.
Did you?
Mate, I got to be honest, there wasn't... me and Cameron Smith had this aura or this rumour we hated each other. That's not true. I love working with him. He's the best player I've ever played with or against. Billy Slayer's a terrific guy. I really enjoyed my time on tour with them. I got on like a house on fire with JT. We had a great time together. Still get on well. So, I really enjoyed it. It was an absolute highlight of my career being able to play with them guys. I think them guys I mentioned will be immortals. And they're absolute stars. And to be able to play 30-odd tests with them was a dream come true. And mate, to tour England, like I loved England. I know people say it's cold, and I don't have a bad word to say about it. I loved it. There's a part of me that wish I had gone over and played there, but I think the fact I got to tour there 3 times and play a World Club Challenge there, I probably was able to experience it. But it was so good. The people there are great. I just loved it. I loved every tour we went on, and to be able to play with them guys was really, really good.
I just want to ask you quickly about the Sharks and that great day in 16, but maybe not so much about the day itself, but about the impact that had. So we see Cronulla now as, I think I read something about it's the second biggest participation area for all forms of
rugby league, behind Penrith,
after Penrith. Do you think your 2016 Sharks, that's a bit of a legacy piece for you guys? Yeah,
I think that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, there's no doubt. Like young kids that they come up to me and still recognise me because I'm on the wall out the front of the Sharks. Like they're 6, 7 years old. They wouldn't have seen me play, but they recognise me out on the front of the wall. That's and to know that they're playing footy and we're giving back to the community. That is a bit of a legacy piece for that team. But yeah, look. If I didn't win that premiership, I wouldn't be probably where I am in life now. I probably wouldn't have the job I have. So that was by far the highlight of my career, and I think probably more because of what it meant to other people. Like it's like Jimmy, you love being a footy player and love getting the pats on the back and all the accolades that go your way. That's awesome. But when it becomes bigger than you and becomes about the community and what it meant to that whole community, like that just means so much to me. Like. People probably still aren't over it. We're probably at the stage now that we've got to get over it. Sharkies fans, we've got to look at winning another one. But I know how much fans are still wrapped up in what we did. It was almost 10 years ago, but that was the greatest thing I did. And just to understand what it meant to people, to see grown men cry, that's pretty special.
Yeah, I obviously I live in the Shire. I could see Sharks fever just taking over. Can you just for our listeners and viewers, the last minute of that game, it was beyond chaotic.
Mate, it was so scary. So I can remember, well, first of all, about that grand final, we led 2-0. Now, round 26 of the competition, last round that year, we played the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne. Whoever won that game won the minor premiership. Mm-hmm. We led 2-0 after 10 minutes also. And so in grand final, we got a penalty in front of the post. I took the 2, so we're leading 2-0. We got beaten 26 points to 2. So grand final day rolls around, first 10 minutes, you get a penalty in front of the post. I'm like, oh, God. All I could think about was 26 points to 2. So anyway, Jimmy Maloney, Wade Graham, they just take the tap every time. Jimmy Maloney especially. He just, give me the ball, I'll take the tap. I said, Jimmy, now stop. I thought about it for a second and looked at Mick Ennis and, taking the 2 was the right option. And thankfully won the game by 2 points. So it was the best decision I ever made. But we played the Melbourne Storm within the last couple of years and we led the Melbourne Storm 20 points to 12 down there in Melbourne with, I reckon, a minute and a half to go. They beat us. They scored. We kicked off with 30 seconds to go. They scored again. They beat us. And that was all that I could think about in my mind at the time, just like these demons were coming up and we were all talking to each other. Like we done this drill at training where we'd do 13 on, say, 5-6 defenders inside the 20 metres over 20 touches where you just have to scramble non-stop, just sprinting side to side. And I think if we didn't do that drill often that year, we probably wouldn't have scrambled the way we did. But thankfully we did do that drill, so what we trained for come true and we managed to stop the try and obviously Ricky Latelli made that tackle at the end there and we got the job done. So it was scary. There's a lot of there's demons coming up in my mind, but thankfully we trained for that moment and we got it done.
I love that answer. Preparation for chaos.
Yeah.
Like there's so many variables in a game of sport that you can control, but there's way more that you can't. And that situational awareness, but that preparation for chaos, it's something that Christian Wolf really instilled in us at St. Helens. Like you've got to be ready to just
do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and beyond what a sports scientist can push you.
Well, there's a picture, the picture that Flano's got where they make the break down the right-hand side of the field. Jim Maloney should have just made the tackle. He tried to take the winger's head off for some reason. He should have just made the tackle, but he tried to take the winger's head off. He's made the break. On our left edge, so our entire right edge, Jack Bird, Valentine Holmes, they're on this. So they split the field in half straight down the middle of the field. They're all on this side of the field. Then all of a sudden the ball goes back to the left. Well, they managed to get back there and cover that as well. Like that's speed, athleticism, but more than that, it's just want. It's wanting to be there and wanting to do it, and they did it. So we're actually saying before they make a breakdown here, don't cover too far in case they kick back. Well, they did cover too far, but they wanted it that bad. They made the cover back as well. So, I suppose the most pleasing thing is we trained for it, we practiced it, and it come true.
You found a way, will to win.
Yeah.
I just want to wrap things up, Gal. Obviously, thank you for coming on. You got a huge fight coming up ahead. Your boxing record your professional record is amazing. But I've been asked to ask you how your record is in Cronulla Mall.
Do you want to know the story?
Yeah, come on. Let's finish off with this.
Uncle Wade Graham, made me good little mate. Funny story about Wade. Wade was going to go to the Cowboys to play for Jonathan Thurston. Like if you're an 18-year-old kid, you probably didn't go play for Jonathan Thurston, aren't you? The only reason he came to Cronulla because I rang him. I got his number and I rang him. And he said to me, mate, Jonathan Thurston hasn't rang me, I'm going to come play with you. And I was like, righto, how good's that? And the rest is history. We're good mates and he's a good fella. But me and Wado enjoy a bit of a drink together and we're having a drink one day and one thing led to another. Bloke's carrying on. We start playing pool and anyway, we start throwing a bit of money around and these other young blokes challenged us to a game. So we had a game. Anyway, I killed at this game. We're on the play. Now, this particular game, listen, but it's $200 a corner.
Is this the pool room in
Northies?
Yeah. Okay.
$200 a corner.
What do you mean a corner?
$200 a person.
Right.
So it's $400 a team. How much money do you reckon Wader's got on him? None.
Zero.
So I've spotted the 400.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So it's $800. I've grabbed 400 each team. I've got us to the black ball. They've got probably 3 or 4 balls left on the table. The pocket's there, black ball's in front of the pocket, Wado just has to sink it, right? Wado's gone like this, lining it up, just had to tap it in. He looks at me, turns to the other pocket and sinks the white ball on purpose so we lose. And I just sat there like, what the fuck what did you just do? And he starts laughing. I said, what did you just do? He goes, mate, they're kids, who cares? I said, it's $400 and I care about losing. Then they go tell the whole world they beat you and me. He goes, and who cares? Which he's right up, but me being the competitive person at the time, I'm like, no, this isn't right. And we almost had a blue there, and I give him a push. I actually hit him with a pool cue and broke the pool cue on him.
So hang on, if the white goes in and you're aiming for the black,
if you're
Australian
if you're
pub
on the
rules,
black, yeah, Australian, yeah,
that you lose.
You lose, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. In certain pubs around Australia, you both got to be in the black, but generally you lose if the white ball goes in when you're on the black.
Okay.
So he did. So he lose, and I was filthy, and I was pretty angry at him. We almost didn't want to fight him, but he said, "Stop carrying like it." I said, "No, I'll fight you," and he goes, "Yeah, I'll fight you." I said, "But I'll give you a 10-punch head start," and he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." So he's hit me 1, 2, 3, 4, got a little bit harder. We went to another
Where's he
bar.
hitting you in the body?
No, in the chin. Just tap me. Then he got to about 6 and we're out. And we went to a different bar and we're walking down to the old nightclub down there. And we're walking across the Kingsway and he goes, "How many have I got left?" I said, 4 punches. He goes, "Righto." He goes, 7 pretty hard, 8 harder, and 9 he cracked me to the point where I was like, okay, wow. I said,
he stunned you.
He stunned me. I was like, "You've got 1 left." And he comes and he goes, "Yeah. You think I'm that stupid?" and ran away. So he's never hit me the 10th punch. I haven't been able to punch him back. And he every time, me and Wado do argue a bit, especially when we're out carrying on. And I'm just waiting for that one more time. He punches me, I can get him back finally, but it's been a long time. He's been very smart with it.
I reckon on the scorecards he's got you.
Oh, he does, mate. He's got me. He's too smart. He's too smart.
Is it true that you later found the lads in Fusion and wanted to go back to Northies for a rematch?
No, I wanted to go back to Northies. They wouldn't come back. There was a pool table there, so I played them there.
Oh,
I got them. But no, and behold, they never put the 400 up, so they went home with $400 extra. But actually, Wado wouldn't play them. Wado wouldn't play. So there was a pool table in Fusion back in the day.
What's that?
In the nightclub up the top near the toilets, and he. Wado wouldn't play. Wado goes, "Get over it, man." I said, "No, I'm not getting over it. We've got to play, give him a rematch." Wado wouldn't be a part of it, but I did play him with someone else and we got the job done. But as I said, it wasn't for money, so they ended up winning at the end of the day.
You got the personal pride back. Gal, mate, we could have gone so many areas with this. Want to wish you all the best. July 16th, Kudos Bank Arena. I think tickets are still available and it's going to be on Stan. Make sure you get it watched by our own listeners. Gal, thank you so much for coming on here.
No worries, mate. Thanks for
sharing
having
a few
me.
stories. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit with you and chat, mate.
Thank you.